Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to another edition of SPTV News Live, where we keep you up to date on the latest shenanigans in the criminal cult of Scientology. And since we're never short of shenanigans, it seems like every day there's an update, not least in the Leah Remini lawsuit, as this is video number probably 4 or 5 on the civil lawsuit that was filed by Leah on August 2nd. And since it's been a while and we can get lost in all the various lawsuits going on, there's 6 of them currently, including a grand jury investigation into Scientology to see if they covered up for the Danny Masterson rapes. So let me give you a little bit of backstory first on the Leah lawsuit, and then we'll jump into her striking back from Scientology just striking back. In other words, the last video that we covered on this was about a month ago. So just since August 2nd, since Leah filed this, we have many videos leading up to this latest one, which is Leah Remini lawsuit update and Scientology's aggressive counterattack. And this began with the first video almost 4 months ago on August 6th, where we had the first court date set for Leah Remini's lawsuit against the cult. And this is, of course, a civil lawsuit, so we will not see the elf in handcuffs, but go get your money, Leah, because since 2006 up until present time and escalating, hence her having to file an amended lawsuit recently saying they've amped it up since she filed her freaking lawsuit. So let me give a little bit of backstory first. So point number 1 is there's 6 ongoing lawsuits. Point number 2 is that there's basically 2 that we're covering because they're getting ready to go to court, and there's always new updates and filings and counter filings going on. So the second one is called Bixler versus Scientology, and that's the Jane Does from the Danny Masterson criminal trial, as well as Cedric Bixler, one of the husbands of one of the Jane Does, filing a similar suit like Leah is, alleging fair game harassment in a nutshell. So those are the 2 cases that we're following. There's multiple videos on these, and this video is an update to Leah Remini just yesterday filing a counterattack to Scientology's counterattack. I'll link all the videos in the description box, as I always do on each case that we cover in order, so you can start from video 1 and follow your way through. But let me give a little bit of backstory, because we always have new people jumping in as to what the hell this lawsuit is actually about. So again, the first court date was filed on August 2nd, and you can see here that it's a harassment lawsuit versus the Leah Remini versus the cult. An initial court date in November has been set in a lawsuit filed this week by actress Leah Remini, a longtime critic of the cult and herself a former member, alleging that she's been stalked and harassed since leaving the faith in 2013. I believe she's actually suing for psychological torture as well, which goes back to the 2006 incident where Tom Cruise and Katie Holm were getting married, and Leah Remini dared ask one of the elf's assistants, where is the elf's wife? Where is David Miscavige's, Shelley Miscavige's wife? Why isn't she at this wedding? Since then, Leah had to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for ethics handlings for daring to question that. She was made to think it was her fault. She gets out finally in 2013, writes a book in 2015 called Troublemaker. Late 2016, early 2017, Leah Remini in the Aftermath goes on air for 3 seasons. Then we have the Fair Game podcast, and then she's still doing work today. And like I said, God bless her, suing and trying to get some remuneration for all the damage that they've caused. So the Los Angeles Superior Court complaint filed Wednesday, again this is on August 2nd, includes allegations of civil harassment, stalking, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and defamation. The elf also is a defendant, and on Friday, the judge set a case management conference from November 30th. Obviously, that's come and gone, and this is basically what she's suing for here. You can see here we got the Leah Remini as the plaintiff, and we have as the defendants the elf, the Cult of Scientology International, and RTC, known as Religious Technology Center. And this is the 9-point complaint that we went through in a previous video. Again, I'll link it in the description box, taking up the highlights of what she's actually suing for. Number 1 is civil harassment, stalking, Let me see if I can highlight that. She's suing for stalking, intentional infliction of emotional distress, torturous interference with contractual relationships, i.e., hurting her business, intentional interference with prospective economic advantage, again, same thing, defamation and defamation per se, defamation by implication, false light, declaration of judgment, California Civil Code Procedure 1060. Okay, so we're almost going to get into this, but I really don't want to lose people by there's so many damn lawsuits. So you following along so far? So she filed the lawsuit on August 2nd saying that the cult's carefully planned harassment was having negative effects on her ability to make a living as Scientology continued to spread misinformation. And they're basically saying, look, she's spreading misinformation on her show and her book, etc. She fired the shots first. All we're doing is protecting our First Amendment right. Hence, you should gut the entire lawsuit that Leah's suing for because it's shots fired and we have by her first, and we have First Amendment right to protect ourselves. But as you're going to see, not least by spreading misinformation that Leah was responsible for a gentleman murdering someone on the Australian advanced course or advanced organization in Australia, which we're going to get into. It's more than just First Amendment free speech. They're allegations that are defamatory and have caused Leah great harm. That's what she's suing for. So Scientology spread misinformation about her to intimidate her producers and other business partners. She amended the lawsuit to say that the harassment has only increased since she first filed the lawsuit. And she's also filed for a preliminary injunction asking the court to force Scientology to stop its harassment while the case is going on. As mentioned earlier, they jumped up her attack and she's like, guys, judge, please get these assholes to stop before we even get this thing to court. So anyway, Scientology's response was to file a massive motion to strike, covered previously on the videos, as well as the anti-slap, in an attempt to gut her lawsuit before it even really gets going. And this basically has to do with Leah firing back and debunking Scientology's claims about the supposed crimes that she's been responsible, including the aforementioned agitation of causing a murder to happen in Australia. And these were all supposedly inspired by Leah. So at the very beginning, I'm going to take you through this in order. So this is Leah's response that was filed yesterday in response to Scientology attempting to not only gut the accusations by saying, look, we have the First Amendment right to speak what we want. Leah fired first. And regards this whole fair game thing, we don't really do that anymore. It's irrelevant and blah, blah, blah. That was covered in the previous video. So now Leah is striking back, and I'm going to take it in order. It's a huge, how many pages is this fucking thing? It's a really big complaint that Leah, let's just say it's really big. It's like 60 pages and it's got like 300 or some exhibits. I'm going to take you from the highlights from the beginning to the end, leading to the Australian incident. As to how Leah has decided to handle this. So beginning with their lawyers, this is what they say, quote, let me put you guys in the chat here because now we can get into the meat of the of today's news story. So this is what her lawyer said. Look, for 10 years, defendants David Miscavige, herewith referred to as the ELF, the Cult of Scientology International, and RTC have waged a coordinated campaign to, quote, obliterate and ruin utterly, which, by the way, is per their fair game policies, plaintiff Leah Remini. Defendants have engaged in countless false and malicious attacks of Remini through multiple Scientology-run social media accounts and websites. Again, we covered all this in detail a couple videos back, link in the description box. Defendants have physically harassed and stalked Remini, her family, and her colleagues. Messages obtained between private investigators hired by Scientology to follow Remini reveal, quote, word is they, meaning Scientology, want to kill her. I'm going to show you something on that real quick. I'll link this in the description box because it's too much to go over. But let's just say that there was threats made on her. Texts reveal how the cult of Scientology shadowed Leah Remini and Jennifer Lopez. Okay, back to this. Scientology is a multi-billion-dollar organization headed by the ELF. Scientology's self-described reliable source, Marty Rathbun, a former member and official of Scientology, has repeatedly accused the elf of criminal conduct. And as we know, or can only speculate really, unless anybody has some evidence, but it seems pretty obvious that Rathbun turned and he probably allegedly took out a payment to do these really disturbing videos where he looks like he's put up by Scientology to now kind of go against the ex-Scientology community. I hope the money was worth it, Marty, if you did in fact get a payout. Who knows? So Marty Rathbun, a former member and official of the cult, has repeatedly accused the elf of criminal conduct. In 2013, when Remini publicly left the cult, following a childhood subject to abuse and later psychological torture and punishment, the defendants deemed Remini an enemy or a suppressive person and fair game, and according to Scientology policies and practices, set out to destroy her reputation, her livelihood, her life, as they have done to so many others. The document argues that Scientology is making false personal attacks on Remini and it's not just protected free speech. And interestingly, this is interesting, they point to Monique Rathbun's 2013 lawsuit against the cult. And you may remember that Scientology had used the same approach then, arguing that what was going on was simply a war of words that was protected by the First Amendment. But the court rejected that argument, ruling that, you guys remember the infamous Squirrel Busters? Video to follow shortly. Arguing that the Squirrel Busters stalking Monique was harassing conduct, not simply free speech. And then Monique later famously dropped that lawsuit, even though she had won a key appellate victory, and her husband, Marty, became Scientologist's go-to attack dog. Again, did he take a payment or not? But why did he turn when they seemed like they were going to win that case? Regards to Squirrel Busters, I want to show you a quick 2-minute video on that, just in case, so people can follow the history here. The volume's not the greatest on this. It's not very high, but hopefully you can see in 2 minutes here and hear a breakdown of what these Squirrel Busters are and what Scientology was arguing with what we just read out.
Marty Rathbun was deputy to David Miscavige, who is the leader of the Church of Scientology. He knew all the secrets. He was involved very much in the behaviour of the church. And that included some unsavoury behaviour, which he admits to and says he very much regrets, but he admits that he was a party to some very unpleasant behaviour.
I was the Inspector General. There's no higher post within their hierarchy.
You and Miscavige are the only two Scientologists who got the Medal of Honor.
Right.
So you're a big deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say that.
What's happened to Marty Rathbun seems to me to be that because he left the church and then started speaking out against the church, he has been now a victim of some fairly heavy campaigning, allegedly by the church.
Come on, Marty. Got anything to say? You can't even defend yourself on this, can you?
What's your name?
I gave you my name, Marty.
What's your name?
Marty, I gave you my name. Now let's go take a look at a folder.
What's your name?
Why don't you answer his question?
They've employed what's called Squirrel Busters. The Squirrel Busters are a group of very vocal, very intimidating, in my opinion, very in-your-face people.
My whole name's Marty! He can't even make that go right!
Marty Rathbun's years in the church tells him that there is only one person that's dictating this campaign, and he alleges it is David Miscavige, the leader of the church. He alleges the leader of the church knows all about the campaign against him, and more than that is the reason why it's happening.
There's nobody else that has more to lose with him speaking out than David Miscavige. Who else would care about him speaking out?
In your opinion, he's the man that's pulling the strings.
Oh yeah, it's beyond opinion. There's not even a scintilla of the things that have occurred with us over the past 5 years that would not require his direct order in order to do.
David Miscavige, of course, is denying that. The church is denying that. And that's why there's this massive court case. And it could see David Miscavige having to take the stand, something he's obviously trying not to have happen. And if he does, he will face some serious questioning. And there's no doubt that the Church of Scientology is trying to avoid that.
And they successfully did avoid it. And that gal makes she hit it right on the head, which is why they're trying so hard in the Jane Doe lawsuit, why they don't want Leah Remini shit to get anywhere near the court. Particularly, I would say the civil lawsuit that the Jane Does are bringing regards Danny Masterson, not to mention the ongoing grand jury investigation to see if Scientology did in fact cover this shit up. But that's the Squirrel Busters. Marty, we have to say allegedly, unless somebody has any actual concrete evidence that he took a payout. And that's what I said. When you get out of the cult, it's wheels within wheels within wheels and worlds within worlds. And you never know kind of who to trust. I was never a conspiracy theorist, but Scientology itself is a global conspiracy and racket. And just trying to get out of this thing, it's like living a true crime novel where you're just like, you have your head blown and you're like, what the fuck was I involved in? I thought I was learning how to communicate better and taking courses and shit and going spiritually free. And then when you get out, you're involved in this like novel where you don't know who the fuck to trust when you get out. And it's like spy versus spy. So you have to become a conspiracy theorist to some degree just to get the fuck out of Scientology and get your brain back and find out what the hell happened. Anyways, carrying on. So that was the Squirrel Busters, just another incredible chapter in the cult story, which we'd have to see to actually believe. So regards this civil lawsuit, and if you're just joining us, Leah Remini yesterday has come forth attacking Scientology's attack where they tried to gut her lawsuit. Carrying on. Leah's attorneys acknowledge that she is a, quote, limited public figure, but it's not the case that she has, quote, achieved such pervasive fame to be a public figure for all purposes and in all contexts, including assassinations of her character and attacks of her family. Also, they say that Scientology has failed to show that its harassing attacks on her character are actually in public interest. So if it's in public interest, you can make a critique, i.e. a First Amendment, quote, attack, but they're saying that it's not in the public, the best of the public interest. It goes way beyond that. And they argue against the motion to strike that was filed by Scientology by saying that Leah is likely to prevail in a trial. Here's their attorney's quote. Remini has established the requisite probability of success because her evidence shows that the defendants repeatedly published accusations of her that they knew or recklessly disregarded were false and defamatory. Again, this was covered, I think, video before last. I'll link it in the description box. They're quite outrageous claims. The main defamatory statements at the core of Remini's challenge include attacks that could be categorized as follows. This is typical Scientology psychobabble response that are words of air that mean nothing, and they throw in every trigger word that you can imagine. So I guess trigger warning if you don't like these words. This is what they do. Stand by for a drink of water. Shit, that was coffee. That didn't help. Stand by for an actual drink of water. Okay, so the main defamatory statements at the core of Remini's challenge include attacks that can be categorized as follows. Remini is, of course, a religious bigot. Remini engaged in hate speech. Remini is like the KKK and neo-Nazi. Remini is a racist. Remini is responsible for the wave of violence against the Jehovah's Witnesses. She had the Jehovah's Witnesses on one of the special episodes, and supposedly now she's involved in violence that she inspired also, not just with Scientology, but the Jehovah's Witnesses. Remini inspires praise of Hitler. Remini supports and loves rapists and sexual assault. Again, you can see the projection. If you want to know what Scientology does, take everything that they accuse others of doing and point it right back to them. Remini has incited and is responsible for violence, crimes, and hate crimes, including murder and threats of violence. Remini filed a false police report. Remini engaged in attempted extortion of Scientology. Again, they extort people, flip it on its head, and you have Scientology in a nutshell. Remini was abusive towards her family and her employees. Defendants, now here's the key point. Defendants, i.e. the cult, the elf, etc., do not deny that they published these statements about Remini, both online and in letters to Remini's employers and sponsors. Therefore, defendants' accusations are false statements of fact that are not protected by any privilege and have caused significant harm to Leah Remini. Okay, next part. Now talk about going beyond defamatory. You're going to see an incident here that happened in 2019 where up until I saw this filing, I actually didn't know the new details. So it looks like we get some new details on what happened at this incident by Leah Remini, putting this in her strike back on Scientology strike back. So this to me goes way, way beyond defamatory. And here we go. So the filing also takes on the claim so often repeated by the cult that Leah has been the inspiration for hate crimes committed against the church by people motivated by watching her television shows. This is their go-to thing about all the violence that Leah is supposedly attracting to the church by people wanting to cause Scientology and Scientology buildings harm. They go through each of the incidents that Scientology cites, showing how in each case they are exaggerations by the cult or simply false accusations against Leah. Okay, I actually think I just read that. This is the main point here. Just to cite one example, the document goes into some length about one notorious incident that the cult has used time and time again, the murder of a Scientology security guard named Chi Jen Yi. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, my bad, in Australia. So I'm going to link this in the description box so you can learn more about that. But you can see it was splashed all over the press. This is dated January 14th, 2019. This was splashed all over the press. Just one of the things that Leah is saying, what the horse's ass, man. I mean, I'm being tied to everything in their mother and I'm being slandered and they're calling up my producers on my, shows and stuff and having me canceled. And they really do this, my friends, allegedly. So Hollywood star, that would be Leah, was blamed for alleged murder at Sydney Scientology, Australia. Sydney Scientology, that would be in Australia, their headquarters. I'm going to play you a quick clip taking us back to 2019, highlighting that, and then we'll get back into it.
An obsession with pornography led a teenager to stab and kill a Scientologist at their Chatswood headquarters 3 years ago. The boy, who can't be named, will remain in a mental health facility after a judge found he was not criminally responsible.
Too young to be identified and too troubled to know right from wrong. The stabber was just 16 when he killed one man and injured another at the Scientology headquarters in Chatswood in 2019. He'd travelled there with his mother from Taiwan and was kicked out of class because he did not agree with their beliefs. He became enraged when church members asked his mother to remove pornography from his MP3 player. "You deleted my data, didn't you?" he screamed at his mother. "I'll give you 10 seconds to recover it." The court heard he struck his mother on the head with a closed fist. He hit her another 8 times, grabbed her by the throat and kicked her legs. And armed with a knife, he returned to the headquarters demanding the files be restored. A security guard was slashed while Scientology member Chi Jen Ye was stabbed in the neck and died. The court heard he'd suffered delusions and hallucinations. His mental illness would have impacted on his capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of his actions, the judge said. He was not aware of the nature and quality of his act. Because he was found not criminally responsible for his actions, the now 19-year-old will be held at a treatment facility. Once he's deemed fit to be released by the Mental Health Tribunal, it's likely he'll be deported back to Taiwan. Leonie Ryan, 7 News.
Okay, and here's what Scientology lawyers had to say in reference to that. Quote, "Defendant's connection between the murder of Yi and Remini is not only false but unbelievable. Farney absurdly declares that he has, quote, personal knowledge of the following supposed facts. On January 3rd, 2019, a 16-year-old man stabbed to death a security guard at a Scientology cult in Australia. The assailant had expressed anti-Scientology sentiments. The cult staff members, who was a witness to the crime, asked the assailant's mother what he was reading on the internet about Scientology, and the mother showed the church staff member the link to a Chinese anti-Scientology website on her phone. This information was reported to Church of Scientology International after the incident. On January 7, 2019, I accessed the website, saw that it contained links to Remini's The Aftermath television show, as well as Mike Rinder's website. I downloaded a copy enclosed herewith as Exhibit 34. There's no corroboration of Farney's story in the court proceedings for the murder. The court heard the Taiwanese boy stabbed a man to death after becoming angry, as you just saw in the news report, that his mother deleted a pornographic story from one of his electronic devices. The boy first confronted his mother about the deleted data at the Scientology facility where she was taking classes. She was on the purification rundown at the time. And then he beat her up. The next day, he went back to the facility and insisted that he wanted to speak to a staff member about his data, but was told that if he attempted to enter the building, it would be locked down. An altercation then ensued between the boy and Ye, who was present, and the boy stabbed Ye. The court found the boy was, quote, not criminally liable because he was experiencing a mental impairment during the stabbing, arising from psychotic symptoms due to schizophrenia. And it would be interesting if his mother's a Scientologist, did she actually get, it's just hypothetical, but did she get him into Scientology? And did that contribute to his, quote, schizophrenia? It would be interesting to know if he had any involvement in Scientology. Just growing up with a Scientology mother in itself can make you schizophrenic. Just ask me. The decision says nothing about Remini or Farney's, quote, facts. Farney also does not state that the Church of Scientology International reported this information about what defendants claim was the cause of the murder. The website with link to Aftermath. In other words, they're totally pulling at straws here and trying to make a connection that doesn't even sound like it existed to the authorities, as one would expect if it actually believed that was the cause. The only, quote, evidence defendants cite to support their argument that, quote, the murderer used his cell phone to view an anti-Scientology website that featured a link to plaintiff's television show is a false and defamatory letter that Scientology itself wrote to Paul Basiri, president of A&E, blood on your hands, claiming that, quote, you paid for the hate that caused his murder. Moreover, even if there were any admissible evidence that the mentally ill 16-year-old viewed the website, defendants do not claim that, one, he scrolled to the second to last comment containing the link, which appears on page 16 and 17 in defendant's exhibit, two, clicked on the link to the Aftermath Foundation, three, viewed it, and four, was incited by it. The boy did not even frickin' speak English. Defendants all but concede that their repeated claims that Remini incited the murder of Ye are made up, asking the court to find in the alternative that they are an opinion of the events. So the filing goes on to debunk several more of the cult's claims about crimes that were supposedly inspired by Leah. And here it is. Leah filed a 36-page opposition to Scientology's opposition, accompanied by more than 600 pages of declarations and exhibits. And this is just what? 4 months to the day. So it's December 2nd. She filed this on August 2nd. There's been back and forth between Scientology multiple times. Leah had to file an amended lawsuit saying, can you please get Scientology to back the fuck off and stop amping up their fair games attack, allegedly, so we can actually get to court. She's begging the judge basically for them to just chill out, for the very thing that she's suing them for, fair game. And then they tried to gut her lawsuit and say it's all irrelevant. She fired first. It's a free First Amendment to First Amendment privilege to state what we want. And as you can see there, I'm no lawyer, but it seems like it definitely goes beyond that. So, check in another week or two on this particular case alone, because undoubtedly Scientology will fire back. And this costs them tons of money. It's designed to gaslight and stress the person suing them. Just refer back to the Monique Rathbun case that, made its appearance here. It doesn't matter how much money it costs. It matters the severity of what could come out to put the elf in court, to make him actually stand trial. The more serious that David Miscavige is threatened, the more money will be thrown at the lawsuit. So it doesn't matter, for example, in the Jane Doe lawsuit, the Bixler versus Scientology civil suit against Masterson, the elf, and the cult, they they already hit in a lawsuit that's a part of a lawsuit that's going to be amended shortly anyways, making anything that the cult would throw at it irrelevant, but they don't care. They do it to gaslight the person, to break them, to throw money at something they know is going to be amended just because it'll harass them, and to kick, anything that they can. That's an important one. So money is no object when it comes to the important ones. And the main thing on the itinerary is keep the elf out of jail. He can never go to court, just like Hubbard. Anyways, that's it, my friends. It's just crazy watching this soap opera. It's not a soap opera and funny in real life, but it is a soap opera being out of it personally and just watching the crazy ass battles. I hope Leah does win, because this could set a precedent and inspire more people, kind of like Wallersheim did, which we covered in a previous video recently, to inspire more people to you too can get your 5.2 million, like that Larry Parker accident commercial. If you get wronged by Scientology, God damn it, get everything you can. I'm going to go ahead and remain broke and not go after that. I don't even have the money to fight these freaks, but I'm just happy enough to be out, and that they basically, I was going to say leave me alone, but who knows? They don't really seem to do that either. I don't know. Anyways, do we have any questions? Don, how are you doing, man? Let me take away this seizure-inducing thing at the bottom. I just want you guys to know that you can ask questions there. Doug, I suggest you were never scared. Oh, I'm not. I'm just making a quote joke. Sorry if that's offensive. I know everything's offensive in today's world. I was not schizophrenic. That's correct. I suggest you were never schizophrenic, as there is no recovery. Amen to that, Don. Like I said, I was kind of exaggerating there, obviously. I wasn't trying to make light of that. But I talk about that, by the way, my friends, if you don't know what I'm talking about. I had an actual nervous breakdown, which has never happened in my life. It's only something I've read about, where I was on OT3, which is their confidential level, where you learn about Xenu and the schizo, aliens that are all over your body that you have to telepathically communicate with in your bedroom on the e-meter to get to go away. I had a nervous breakdown for, I don't really know how long it was, if it was 20 minutes or a couple hours, but I remember coming out of their building in Los Angeles where they deliver these OT levels. And I had voices in my head that were screaming at me, because I believed in these body thetans so much that I started to go crazy. And I had to be jumped on and wrestled by the Scientologists to try to get me back in the building, because they don't want me to create a PR flap, because everybody started freaking the fuck out. And then they had to call my dad. And by the time they tried to call my dad, I escaped from them, got in my car and went home. Him and a couple of Sea Org members came to my house immediately. I didn't answer the door for at least a couple hours, just sitting there chain smoking, till finally they're talking to me, blah, blah, blah. Finally, I answer the door. They come into a smoke-filled room. I tell the Sea Org members, you can fuck off. I'm only talking to my dad. Get out of here. They said that they would. They didn't leave. I found out when I finally, was escorting my dad out. They were still there. There was a long handling. So yes, Don, I didn't go schizophrenic. I went temporarily insane because I thought I was hearing voices in my head, just to clarify. Okay. I do see some other questions. Martha, how are you? And then we'll get to the ones previously, then we'll roll out. And by the way, my friends, tune in later tonight, because we're going to talk to a gal that's been on the show a couple times when we first started the channel, that deals with sex trafficking and what goes on in Thailand, as well as the US. And she's got a new documentary that's on Epoch TV now, which we're going to discuss her latest updates and the whole sordid area of sex trafficking, particularly with minors. Martha, I'm sure that video will probably get dinged. We might have to throw that. That's going to be live, but if it gets taken down, it'll always be on BitChute and Rumble, which are linked in the description box, my other channels. Martha, how are you? Question, did Church of Scientology ever put a hate page on you? No, I'm still waiting for it. If not, why do you think that is? Because I'm not prominent enough. It's as simple as that. Anybody that was on Scientology, the aftermath, they all got hate websites. I'll know that I made it, not that I'm trying to anyways, as an ex-Scientologist, when I do get that hate website. I mean, it'll be interesting what they come up with, because that, I was never planning on speaking out, but I wanted to become a better person. So you often give them a lot of material. I mean, who hasn't done anything wrong in their life, right? But by the time you do a lot of auditing, especially when you get on at the confidential levels like I did. I had to tell them everything I've ever done. And I had to make sure that when I talk out, I have a clean slate, that I have a clean record, that I'm not doing fucked up shit where they can do stuff to me. And even then, we've talked about this before, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I did have some things happen and do have some things happen. Maybe they contribute to helping take down the channel. I told you guys I got my car fucked with and my license plate stolen. Shit has happened, but to get that hate website, I think you really got to get on their radar. So I'm working on it, guys. Anything you can do to help me with that, please let me know. Lady, how are you, man? Good to see you. Doug, do you think Elcon would change his policies if he were around today with the internet exposure? Undoubtedly, he would have to, right? Because the internet was Scientology's big Achilles heel. He didn't anticipate the internet as brilliant as he was. So, lady, of course, man. I mean, he was a Machiavellian genius in a certain way. So he would incorporate the internet and all that damage it could do to expose him into his policies. He would just figure out a way to one up. I mean, he probably would lose. He wouldn't be able to go up against the internet, I don't think. But yes, I think that would be on his radar to handle the internet. Operation Handle the Internet. Okay. Just wanted to, okay. And you said good morning to us too, lady. Just wanted to point that out. Hi, I hope you have a lovely day too, my friend. And it's really good to see you again too. My mind went AWOL. Been missing you. Hi, friends. I'm late watching it 2 times speed. What the fuck, man? That fucks up the playability of the video. Therefore, it doesn't get kicked out to the algorithm mind wall. My mind went AWOL, and nobody gets to hear this information. Damn it. Can we compromise it at least 1.5 speed? No. I actually watch everything on 2 times speed too, just because there's too much to watch and keep up with. Cece, how are you? Did Scientology write the press on Yahoo? It's possible. I'm sure they have a certain amount of, well, of course they do. They pay off a certain amount of people to probably put stuff out there. I don't know if Yahoo, if they paid off the Yahoo people or not, but they definitely do put out articles that look legitimate, or maybe even a lesser, bigger publication itself could be paid off with the right money to put out Scientology propaganda. Question, lady, Doug, do you think Leah is more powerful now than she ever was as a Scientology OT? Obviously, you're just making a quip there, right? I mean, of course she is. There's no power to be had as a Scientology OT, my friends, not least because the fucking state doesn't even exist. You're brainwashed into believing you have all these superpowers. But if Leah is anything like me in my experience getting out, not only do you get a lot of your power back by getting your mind back from a psychopath, realizing that there is no state of OT. And if there is, I would like to see somebody prove it. And grounding back into reality definitely overall makes you a much more powerful person. But then juxtaposed against that, which is what Leah's dealing with, which is why I just, really applaud her never giving up, because she could have just written the book, collected the money and went on. But this is a personal thing for her, man. And we all kind of benefit by her going after these freaks. So anyways, I forgot what I was rambling on about. Martha, good to see you. You are dangerous, Doug, because you dig deep. Hey, man, if you're not having problems, then you're probably not over the target. And God damn it, it's been challenging just to stay on this platform since over the last 3.5 years. Hawthorne, what's going down, man? Definitely haven't seen you for a while. Good to see you again. Doug, do you ever feel weird discussing things with HG? No. Do you think a point will come where you've gotten everything you can from him? No to both, because there's a never-ending rabbit hole to the subject of narcissists, like cults, because there's too much to cover in a lifetime. Hence why the dude has like 6,300 videos and counting every day. If you guys think Aaron Smith-Levin pumps out shit like a maniac, which he does, because he does a lot. Like he used to do, I'm sure I'll get back into the rhythm, 2, 3, maybe even 4 videos a day. HG consistently uploads the maximum amount on YouTube every day, which I think is 6 videos or something, just every single day, man. And supposedly he has a job and shit as well. The guy's a maniac in many ways, more than one. Okay, any other questions? So no, Hawthorne, I don't feel weird discussing things with HG because he lives a continent away and I want the information. That's what I'm after. We have a good rapport. I know he's a psychopath. We're not friends. We don't talk over the internet. We don't We just do the interviews and then we email back and forth to set that shit up. But his information has helped out a ton of people. And even if people don't like HG, I know they get triggered by it or they go, oh, the information's bullshit. Fine, man. Just get your information on narcissism, I would say, anywhere you can, that anybody that resonates with you and that you trust, because that's a subject that made me understand Elcon, my family, and also attracting abusive partners so I don't have to keep repeating that cycle over and over again. I think we got all the questions. Okay, thanks guys for joining us this afternoon, man. Hurry along now. I'm sure there's other SPTV channels that are probably I'm overriding right now. So we'll see you later tonight. I think it's 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Maybe we'll push it back a little bit later. But I'm really looking forward to talking to Kelly Galindo and the sex trafficking documentary. And, as horrible as it is, it's important to know about, especially with the internet, like we were talking about earlier with the commenter. That's the playground now for cults, for sex trafficking, for everything. So, L. Ron Hubbard would have had to not only change the policies, but would have been very out of his league if he didn't very quickly get up to speed. Because I was just talking about this in the interview the other day where I was talking with Bryce about the Twin Flames universe cult, which is fucking fascinating, by the way. If you haven't seen it, that's an amazing documentary on Netflix showing that the grift nowadays is going from back when Hubbard had to work his ass off because he had to be a showman. There was, he couldn't just be on the internet and then hide for a while. It was an all-encompassing fake persona that he always had to project for his followers and believe in himself. But nowadays with the internet, you can get on, put out a fake persona. Nobody knows who you really are, and then become a demon behind the scenes, and people are none the wiser. Plus the exposure that you get on the internet and, killing a million birds with one stone, which you can't do in real life. That's the wave of the future, unfortunately or unfortunately, for the fucking cults, sex trafficking, etc. And we'll get into that later with Kelly Galindo. It's only appropriate that we leave out once again with what we've been talking about today, the Scientology outro. See you soon, my friends. Please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you on the other side.
I found out long ago it's a long way down the holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday road. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Take a ride on the West Coast gig. Holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday
Welcome to Hollywood. What's your dream?
Some dreams come true, some don't. But keep on dreaming. This is Hollywood.